Imagine waking up to a world where your smartphone is useless, antibiotics don't exist, and the simple act of drinking water could kill you. Sounds terrifying? It should. Let me tell you why most of us wouldn't last a week in the Dark Ages. In the medieval era, survival wasn't guaranteed by intelligence or charm. It was sheer grit and adaptation. The world was brutal, disease was rampant, and every day was a test of survival. Hygiene was a joke. Ever feel uneasy skipping a shower for a day? In the Dark Ages, people bathed maybe once a year. The streets were open sewers and human waste was tossed into them without a second thought. Germ theory? Non-existent. Most of us wouldn't survive the diseases born from such filth. Think cholera, the plague, or smallpox, illnesses that wiped out millions. Medicine was primitive. Cut yourself in a modern kitchen and you clean it, slap on a band-aid and move on. In the Dark Ages, that same cut could mean death. Why? Because wounds often got infected, and there were no antibiotics to save you. Instead, you'd be treated with leeches, bizarre potions, or maybe prayers, none of which guaranteed survival. You'd be physically unprepared. In a time when brute strength and endurance determined your survival, modern lifestyles wouldn't cut it. People worked in fields from dawn to dusk, hauling heavy loads, plowing land, and fighting wars. Could you manage without gym equipment or pre-workout smoothies? The food was barely edible. Let's talk about the medieval diet. Bread, porridge, and maybe some salted meat if you were lucky. Fruits and vegetables were seasonal luxuries, and spices were worth more than gold. If you're vegan, gluten-free, or have dietary restrictions, forget it. Education and literacy were privileges. Fancy yourself smart? In the Dark Ages, less than 10% of people could read or write. Forget Google, YouTube tutorials, or books to guide you. All knowledge was passed down orally, and if you were born into the wrong class, your chances of learning anything beyond farming were slim to none. Violence was everywhere. Do you think modern life is stressful? Imagine constant fear of Viking raids, bandits, or even your own neighbors betraying you. The justice system was arbitrary, and trials often involved ordeals like walking on hot coals to prove your innocence. Lack of comforts would break you. Now let's face it, we're spoiled. From comfy mattresses to climate-controlled homes, we've mastered comfort. The medieval world? Cold, damp, and devoid of amenities. Imagine sleeping on straw, wearing the same clothes for months, and struggling to stay warm in winter. Mental health wasn't a thing. Stress, anxiety, or depression. In the Dark Ages, these weren't treated, they were either ignored or attributed to witchcraft. There was no therapy or self-help books, only grueling workdays and societal pressures. Class and gender inequalities were unbearable. Born into the wrong family or as the wrong gender. Your life was essentially preordained. Peasants worked endlessly for little reward, while women had limited rights and were often married off young. Social mobility? Not a chance. So why wouldn't you survive the Dark Ages? Because modern life has insulated us from hardships that were once routine. The luxuries of medicine, technology, and even a reliable food supply have made us resilient in some ways but utterly unprepared for the brutal realities of medieval life. If you think you'd thrive, I challenge you to skip modern conveniences for just a week. No phone, no running water, no fast food. Could you do it? Let me know in the comments. And remember, the next time you complain about your Wi-Fi, be grateful you're not drinking water from a contaminated well. Would you survive the Dark Ages? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for more thought-provoking content.